What is an industry secret that you know? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. The stuff that makes movie theater popcorn taste like movie theater popcorn is called Flavicol. It's a salt-like additive that you can buy yourself and add to your popcorn at home. A carton lasts forever because you only need like a teaspoon of Flavicol per cup of kernels, and it's indistinguishable from the popcorn you get at the movies. Flavicol comes in classic butter and better butter flavors. No joke, the better butter tastes better. You don't need any other seasoning, but you do add oil-dyed canola if you want the authentic experience to the pot, along with the Flavicol, of course. Story 2. Just last night we were playing a gig, and my guitarist said he was going to show us a little trick he uses to get everyone on the dance floor. Over the mic, he asked everyone to come up in front of the stage so we could get a group picture of everyone who came to the show. As soon as he got the pic, we started playing, and everyone stayed on the floor until the end of the set. It was great. Story 3. Teachers routinely fudge kids' grades upward. Sometimes it's because a kid is nice. Sometimes it's because administrators pressure us. Sometimes we're afraid of being sued. That high graduation rate at your local HS, it's most likely due to the books being cooked. ETA. I've said this before, but this whole situation is a prime example of Goodhart's law in action. When a metric becomes a target, it loses all meaning. The HS I teach at touts a low number of suspensions and no expulsions this year. And yet, it is almost guaranteed that a student will tell me to go f myself when I ask for his phone tomorrow. Estimated time of arrival again for all the people talking about kids getting held back. That doesn't happen anymore, really. I've been teaching 20 years, and I can count on one hand the number of students I've seen get held back. It's exceptionally rare. Story 4. Your massage therapist doesn't care about your size or your body hair, but they appreciate when you've showered within a few days of your appointment and have brushed your teeth. They aren't judging you for the things you feel self-conscious about, but they are judging you if you are an entitled saying things like, "My wife would not be happy if she knew how hot you were," although it may seem to you like a harmless compliment, is creepy and will get you on the do not schedule list. That one shouldn't be a secret, but apparently there are men who are oblivious to this. Story 5. I worked for FedEx Trade Networks clearing custom shipments, and almost anyone buying anything over $800 or stuff from China and a few select other countries have to provide what's called a 5106. 5106 is a form the US government uses for duties and tax purposes and but on the form, you need to provide a Social Security or EIN number. We started working remotely in 2021, and on my work computer from inside my house with nobody being able to ever know I had access to hundreds of Social Security numbers, addresses, names, and everything to easily steal identities. That's not even the kicker. This is an entry-level position, and anyone can work it and have access to this. If you import personally from overseas and need to provide a 5106, you're better off getting an LLC to avoid the very high possibility that some FedEx hired doesn't snap a photo of your 5106 form from his phone. Story 6. In corporate culture, the IT staff can be your best resource or your biggest enemy. They deal with idiots all day, so say hello and treat them nicely. Not only when you have a problem. Bring them some donuts or something randomly. They don't forget and will take care of you next time you have a computer crisis. I've got new monitors, extra keyboards for home, cords, whatever I needed because I took some time to say hi and ask how their day was going. Same with the maintenance facilities team. There are two teams you want on your side. Story 7. Food expiration dates, especially on shelf-stable foods, are essentially arbitrary. Nutrition labels are often wildly inaccurate. It is technically not legal to use false information, but it's very, very rare to be caught, unless you are making health-related claims. Those food certifications that you see on food labels are provided by for-profit companies that bill you monthly, so they are highly incentivized to certify as many companies as they can and actively ignore violations. A shocking number of ingredients that are illegal or heavily regulated in other devolved countries are perfectly legal and mostly unregulated in the US. The same companies that make store brands at higher-end stores like Wegmans, Whole Foods, and Trader Joe's make them for cheaper stores like Walmart and Aldi. I could go on. Story 8. I make tons of money keeping computing up and running. We use turn it off and on again way more than you do. Not necessarily a secret, but more of a fun fact. In fact, that's the philosophy of DevOps. There's a modern concept called cattle, not pets. And the whole philosophy is that you should just stop treating computers like pets. naming them, taking care of them. Instead, they're just cattle. Just kill it and move to the next one. And since computers now run things virtually, killing a computer service is the equivalent of just turning it off and on again. Like, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on that principle. Story 9. Medical equipment manufacturers jack up the prices of everything in the US because they can't. You can go to, say, India, buy something like a CAT scan machine, ship it to the US Express Air, and it will still be cheaper than buying it in the US. Or, you know, the little BP carts. The batteries in there are the same as game feeder batteries sold at Tractor Supply. You can buy cases of those batteries from TSC for the price of one from the company that makes the BP cart. Story 10. A lot of the private blood tests actually take longer to process than the NHS public free blood tests, because most of the private healthcare providers haven't bought into the widely used digital system that's used. Instead, they have to be processed manually, which means going through the extra step of getting the main lab to code them. Staff who process manuals also need more training due to the wide variety of forms used and the stupid handwriting we have to put up with. So there's fewer staff who are trained to process them, and they tend to sit there unprocessed for longer than the easier electronic blood samples. Story 11. Nutrition labels on small, not well-known brands can be inaccurate, and nobody would ever know. Once you send your food product out to a lab to have a nutrition label created for it, that is the last time anyone is ever going to check it. It would take someone to pay for a new analysis at a lab to see if the percentage of guar gum, for example, is still accurate, and nobody is going to do that. As someone with food allergies, I am also unfortunately intimately aware of this. I'm asking, didn't anyone read The Jungle out loud a couple times a week at least? Our subreddit and community spaces serve as networks where people fortunate enough to have access to testing can alert others when products that are unlabeled or outright falsely labeled by companies. I've watched people report companies for years with dozens of people commenting they've done the same with absolutely no consequences. That's when I knew I lived in the greatest country on earth. Who knows how many lives are ended prematurely or are severely affected by this specific type of greed. The type of greed that steals your autonomy over what you are putting in your body. It disgusts me. Beyond that, it affects me daily. It sends me to the hospital every once in a while. It has likely already shortened my lifespan. It seems likely it might outright be the death of me one of these days. Story 12. ER veterinarian. When your pets are hospitalized or need to stay at the clinic, unless they're aggressive, need to be monitored very carefully or we're absolutely slammed. They are constantly getting positive attention from the staff. I've had kennel attendants and techs cuddle up with patients on their breaks. Myself and colleagues have made phone calls or typed up records while holding onto your pet. We routinely talk about how cute the patients are. In fact, it's a running joke that we would get fired immediately if we worked in human medicine, etc. And we do get attached to your pet. We know that your pet got into your weed, and we truly don't care. Seriously, just be honest. We operate on a triage basis. Sicker things are seen first, regardless of how long others have been waiting. If you're a person and you're constantly up front complaining to staff about the wait times, the decor, why there isn't enough staff, being difficult in other ways, being dismissive to the non-doctors, and your pet is stable and has been triaged similarly to another pet that came in around the same time, we're not picking up your file until we have to. So much of my job involves giving bad news, talking to emotional people who often take out their feelings on those around them, and having to defend the cost of emergency care and surgery, that I'm not going to eagerly jump into taking a file for someone who's being difficult before they've even been spoken to. Story 13. I'm repair tech at Chuck E. Cheese. There are some games we can adjust the payout for, and some we can't. We have a number called ticket per play or ticket per tap that we have to try to maintain. Every game and ride is adjusted somehow so we can get to that average number. The length of the ride is so you will tap your card more or less times. Some games have fixed ticket payout we can't adjust, so we adjust other games up or down to get the whole average to that magical number. If one game we can't change pays out 4 tickets on average, and the number we want to reach is 6, for instance, I would adjust another game that can be adjusted to 7 or 8 to compensate, because the boss only cares about the average payout on a whole, not on the individual games unless it's insanely high or low if a game is cheating you out of tickets. We probably did that on purpose to compensate for something else. This also goes for the claw machine. We can control how often it pays out. Tickets can be bought at 1 penny per ticket. If you drop a quarter into a token machine, If it doesn't pay you 25 tickets, you're better off just buying tickets. No, we don't reuse pizza. It's cheaper and easier to just make another one since we get the ingredients in bulk. It's just that we cut it into smaller slices so it's harder to do right. Plus the kitchen personnel usually don't care about making it look perfect. No, the job isn't fun. My job is to make sure you have fun. My job is stressful. I'll answer any questions people have. Story 14. In the UK, it is ready to implode. There's several factors that has created a perfect storm. Private equities getting involved and C-suite having to focus on money, not people. Frontline staff being paid minimum wage but expected to put themselves at physical risk and be legally responsible if anything goes wrong. This has made frontline jobs so unappealing that companies are either hiring anyone or running services without adequate cover, compliant processes. Post-COVID problems manifesting as health issues, putting extra strain on services and also reducing the number of people willing to work in the industry. Local authority budgets being stripped from healthcare. So there's the storm, less money in the industry at a time where there is more need for it. With an underskilled, underpaid, and/or non-existent workforce. With management desperately trying to find ways to deliver to investors. There are massive stresses for the patients, massive stresses on the front line, and massive stresses on corporation. When there are people in crisis on both sides of the fence, it cannot sustain itself for too much longer. Story 15. Veterinarian here. Most or all of your pet supplements you buy online or in stores are just snake oil. The anti-anxiety supplements, the special diets, the vitamins, and yes, even the CBD supplements, it's all all of it. So many fly-by-night companies with huge marketing budgets and zero accountability. So many marketing ploys, so many advertisements. Also your fancy schmancy boutique food manufacturers who have no business history and are gone within a few years. More expensive food does not equal higher quality. Dogs need grain. Don't feed grain-free. Feeding a grain-free diet means the grains are replaced by legumes. Legumes block the amino acid needed to have a healthy heart. Dogs who are on GF diets that develop heart disease and get switched back to a normal diet have their heart problems reduced or resolved. Many food companies claim to be supervised by a veterinary nutritionist. You should know that there are only 14 veterinary nutritionists in the entire US. Feeding raw food diets will land your pet in the hospital with me for several days from hemorrhagic gastroenteritis secondary from salmonella or listeria food poisoning. Raw diets are not appropriate for any breed or condition. Your dog is nothing like a wolf. Your dog is not sad to be fed the same diet every day. It's just a marketing ploy. Food bags have a feeding guideline on the back. This is the caloric requirement for an intact working male dog max calorie needs. This is to sell more dog food. If you're going to feed by the back of the bag, reduce that number by 25%. Otherwise, you will be sprinting towards obesity. No, I am not paid by the major manufacturers Purina, Hills, etc. Nor was my education funded by them. Nor do I have any interactions with their representatives. I have no incentives to recommend the major brands and manufacturers. I recommend them because they are tried and true, employ nutritionists, perform research even though it's usually biased, and have a reputation to uphold. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.